feeding time. They've grown a little bit. I've had them for about a month and a half. See, this thing was set up in 4/22 was the first date. Added the fish on 5/6. We're about a month and a half into it. You see some of them are still pretty small, like that little guy right there. There's only a few of those little runts. Most of them have grown a good bit and are at least pinky length. Not to mention those big comets you see there, those brown fish, and a couple of goldfish in there, which are the same size as the comets, which are evidently just carp. So, in the grow bed, bought some mineral fertilizer, which I put in a small cup and deposited it in here. You can kind of see it down there. It's basically a piece of pipe with a cap on the end, and then the mineral is put in it so that the water will only dissolve as much of that mineral as it's capable of carrying. And as long as that still shows brown in the bottom of that dot, that little white circle there, then it's still full. It hasn't taken all of the mineral out into the water yet. It's worth noting that the water is very alkaline. It's almost off of the pH scale measurement alkaline, beyond 7.6. And I've added acid to bring it back, but the acid doesn't keep it back down. It stays above that point in alkalinity, which may be a result of the chemtrails, and you might not be able to beat it. But even the tap water is alkaline excessively here in Santa Clara. We got second round of beans starting to come on. You can see a little flower there, and you can see a little bean sprig there. Still got a couple of big beans on there. There seems to be a constant yellowing that still hasn't fully gone away, but a lot of it has gone and been treated by the mineral fertilizer that was added. I think I might have to add more acid to break that up. These are strawberries. We had a mutation on one of these strawberries here. This plant had a mutation where the berry looked like a tiny little end of a push pin with all the fuzz at the very bottom of it. And all of the berries that this little bush has produced, this one right here, have ended up looking like that. So it'll be interesting to see if this one will end up the same way or not. The radiation levels haven't increased on this bed. They are still right about what they were, which is 0.12 to 0.19 microsieverts per hour. With the 0.17 average, that was on 425, but it hasn't changed much. I measured it about a week ago. And you can see this is a basil plant. It's having a tough time of it. This is the rosemary. Rosemary's growing like a weed, branching out and getting taller. The interesting part is the space between the actual leaves on this plant. It seems longer than it was when I first bought it. This other one back here, this is a basil. And it's just going straight stalky like that. And the leaves aren't all that impressive. And it's almost reached the top of the shade covering. So the dog likes to chew on a little basil. I haven't had time to use it yet. This is an Italian pepper. The one pepper this one plant has produced so far in this month. Produced a couple of flowers, but they fell off before it started forming the actual pepper. It's a nice sized pepper, but it's just one pepper. You definitely need a lot more space to be able to set this up and make it work for a family versus a single person. Even a single person, you'd probably need at least 4 times this amount for a single person. The fish is probably fine. It's a 180-gallon aquarium, and I've got 40 fish in there, so it's about 4 gallons of fish, which is about right. It's not unreasonable, that. So, and then I couldn't let the extra grow media go to waste, so I ended up with some asparagus. That's a little purple potato that I'd gotten that was kind of a fugly little potato, but I took it and I threw it in another pot, and for the last 6 months it generated 5 other little potatoes that were all about the size of my thumb tip, about that much of a thumb, and there are 4 of those planted in there, and only one of them's come up. And then these other pots are a single corn. It's called hooker corn. It's an heirloom variety. It's supposed to be fairly sweet as long as you pick it early enough. So I've got that. These ones obviously don't get watered on any kind of schedule. I do them about once a day because it evaporates, plus I leave water in their basins so that evaporates up through the matrix during the day when the heat's applied from the sun. But everything else is maintained, and I started to build this. I was going to go cut my two 30-gallon water receptacles right down the middle, put them on their side, and then I could have 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, fill them with grow media, run the drain back along there and into the top of this grow bed. So instead of doing a siphon, it would just filter in through there. Although I think I need to do a siphon because I'm going to have to get the water level to come up to the top, so I got to figure that part out of it still. But then I'll do that probably to extend the grow basin at least somewhat, and maybe do like carrots or small root tuber vegetables in those pots, and so they don't have to be so deep. But that's where it is today.